All right. Well, happy Wednesday out there. And I want to take a moment and begin welcoming all of you to the Leader Lowdown. I am so excited to be here with my friend and fellow leader, Sue Brenchley. And gosh, Sue, I cannot wait for you to talk about this subject around unlocking the heartbeat of your business. And gosh, I also want to just, let's do this. Let's welcome some folks to the group. And then I'm going to give Sue a proper introduction. So let's see who is out there today. Who is out there and where are you tuning in from? Take a minute and just drop that into the comments. And if you are knowing that this is going to be an amazing Leader Lowdown, take one of your teammates or some of your team members in the comments as well. And for those of you that maybe are catching a few minutes in the Flip the Switch community, and I'll drop the link in the comments here, you can invite your teammates and you can watch the full replay in the community as well. So where are you tuning in from? I'm going to just take a peek here in the comments. All right. I see Dana and I see a lot of Facebook users. Woo, woo, woo. And very excited to be here. Let's see, we've got Robin Johnson and a whole slew of folks. So I just want to say thank you for joining in. And if you are listening to the replay, go ahead and put where you're tuning in from as well. All right, let's get into it, guys. We are going to draw a card, and I was teasing Sue before we went on camera that she joined, and I went, "Wow, you're matching part of my show here." Ha ha ha. She was like, "Oh, look at that." So we'll draw a card. I'll have Sue do that in a minute, but I want to take a moment and introduce you to Sue. So first off, I have to say that I was just in awe of Sue. She's been in the industry for years. She has built multiple seven-figure businesses, and I met her at a Rob Sperry mastermind. So those of you that aren't involved in personal growth to the level of doing something for yourself that will grow you, you got to attend a Rob Sperry event. Not only is the training amazing and all that, but you get to make connections and meet like-minded people that are interested in growth. And that was one of the things Sue shared right before we got on, is she said, "You know what, I love doing these kind of things, Joan, because most people, they don't realize how badly they need to hear these kinds of things, And so Sue was in corporate America, and she really left all that to help individuals find more solutions to health and financial solutions for their well-being and their families, etc. And what I love is, Sue, I'm going to let you share this a little bit more about you from your own perspective. But you have been, I kind of think of you and Tracy Rogers and a lot of women, in this circle as icons, because you've been around a while. You've been through the dips, the peaks, the valleys, all the things, and yet you still continue to rise with the changes, rise with the tide, and just build incredible leaders and a team. So share just a little bit about you and what really has you so passionate many years later.
Well, and it truly is. It's a passion. It's a mission. It's like, people talk about retirement and they talk about working a job for a set amount of years. People who are mission driven, they don't work. It's not a job. This is something that is a contribution. And it all started, for me over 30 years ago, and it starts for everybody the same way.
Yeah.
You are searching for something. You're looking for a solution. And the thing about people is everybody wakes up wanting more. There's nobody that wakes up every day and goes, okay, there's nothing left to do. Everybody is struggling in some area of their life with something that is going to take them to another level. Well, with me, over 30 years ago, I was having a hard time getting out of bed in my
Oh,
30s. It was like I was so frustrated and so overwhelmed and so, just in a couple of seconds, it was like, here I find myself in my 30s, because we all grow up with this fantasy that, somehow we're just going to marry the right person and have the right life. And I don't know whether it was like Donna Reed or TV that made us think, but then real life hits, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And real life for me was infertility. It was pain. It was premature twins, followed by a baby with birth defects, followed by losing 5 babies,
Oh,
followed by C-sections, followed by hysterectomy, and it's like just one of my son's hospitalizations was 9 months.
wow.
9 months of
Wow.
him being close to death. And I don't say that lightly.
Mhm.
Everybody's got something. And if you don't have conversations with people, then you don't find their pain and their fear.
Yeah.
And for me, I was in pain and I was afraid. And
Hmm.
then the conversation happened, and then a meeting happened, and then new information came into my world, and then a vision. And just it started with this excitement, this hope. And
Yeah.
that's what we do. That's what people don't understand. At the core of every successful person in this industry is a story just like mine.
Yes, yeah. And Sue, as I listen, to so many leaders and, I think there's going to be many people that are listening in today that maybe are, newer to leadership, or they're just getting started, and they look at people like you and they say, gosh, she had all these things happen. She has this amazing story, and maybe I didn't have those kinds of things. How am I going to connect and be out there? What would you say to somebody like that? Because I know, I'm going to just say this real quick. I know for me, I had a lot of things that inspired me and motivated me to get my rear end in gear. I had some pretty big things, and I think that's the way God works in my life. He kind of shakes my tree up pretty good, and then it kind of makes me realize I don't really want that anymore, or I'm sick and tired of that. And maybe I have to be so sick and tired, I actually will freaking do something about it. And then that's kind of how I've evolved in network marketing. And it sounds like you too. But what would you say to that brand new person, Sue?
So the brand new person, I always love to just say, look, you have to take this a step at a time. It's like climbing a mountain, and
Yeah,
you can see that first peak. And by the time you get to that first peak, then all of a sudden this big vision opens up that takes you to another peak and another vista and another thing. You can't, nobody gets to go from here to success overnight. It
right.
takes practice. But it's like having that dream, having that vision of some place that you're not yet.
Yeah,
And then we're constantly, look, our brains are so powerful, and you have to see it in your brain before you're going to see it in real life, right?
yeah,
And once you get really concrete, so I think sometimes people go too far into trying to figure out the whole path, where
right,
just the next step they've got to see. And then our bodies are trying to protect us at all times. So
right. Yeah,
so
it kind of is a yin and yang, or a pull and a pull and a push. I
yeah.
mean,
So
yeah,
so the thing of it is, a brand new person who maybe isn't even confident about what to do, they need to know, look, we've got you. We've
mhm,
got, if there's not a system for that person to follow, then it was a transaction. But if you can plug people in, if you can, look, they have to make the agreement that they're going to do certain things. This has to be win-win, but you have to help them remember what it is that they want, where this is going to lead them, how this is going to move them forward. Does that make sense?
yeah. And in fact, I will just share. I know. I've been sharing this a little bit as my ultimate recruiting conversation. What Sue is describing, guys, is really connecting to the heart of your teammates, of your brand new people. And I know Sue well enough to know she does this with her customers, she does it with her team members, and she even does it with pretty much strangers, because that's how her and I even connected. She offered me and one of my leaders a ride to the airport. And during that ride, we got to know each other a little better. That's what it's about. She was already going. Well, if you weren't going in that direction, pretend you were. Okay, Sue? Yeah.
Yes.
But the truth is that little amount of time connected us on a deeper level. I'll never forget that. And she's probably like, well, that's what I always do. But are you that kind of person? Are you somebody, are you showing up the way that you want to in a service mindset? All right, we're going to get into, Sue's going to talk a little bit about giving your business a little CPR, and we're going to get into that. But first, let's draw a card. Let's just set the tone,
Awesome.
right? This is fun. I know you said you gave these to some of your folks for the holidays, and these are just a fun way, guys, to flip the switch on your mindset, to ignite your inner light. Because so many times what people do is they get in their own head and then they stay there for 30 minutes, an hour, all day till next week, and in some cases years. You don't have to do that. You can switch out of that just like this by igniting your light. Now look at, this is interesting. This card says right here, I prioritize my well-being. I prioritize my well-being. And I know, Sue, you've done a lot of leadership development. You've done a lot of personal development. So this will be really great for you to comment. But it says here, my thoughts and feelings create my inner peace and joy. I choose to look within to become more aware of my thoughts and feelings. I can hold a feeling, or I can choose to trade it in for something new. Nothing has external power over me unless I give it power. Flip the switch. Instead of looking outside myself, go within and make intentional choices. And I love the old I am. I am. We claim, remember Sue said about having a vision for what isn't already here in the physical, but claiming, I am a wise, wealthy businesswoman. I am. What are you? Take a minute right now and write it in the comments. Who are you? Anything is good. Write it down. Sue, what do you have to say about this card?
So number one, I absolutely love the fact that, and I'll take it back to Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah. The one thing that he came out of knowing that no matter what is happening to you, and nothing happens to us, it all happens for us. But no matter what someone is doing, no matter what, the one power that cannot be taken from you is your conscious ability to react to a situation, to choose your reaction, to choose your thoughts, and choosing your thoughts rather than being the victim. It's so we're these brand new babies in life who have all this hope, and then we get into the stuff that happens every day, and it wears us down. And it was funny because Dr. Phil had TD Jakes on his show on Monday, and he just wrote a new book about being the disruption. And here's what Dr. Phil said on the Dr. Phil show. He said, everyone's been taught to go to school, get a job, and work hard. Mm-hmm. And that is not going to work in the future. How long have we been saying that? How long has that mindset been? And now all of a sudden, Dr. Phil says it live on TV. Mm-hmm. And so, part of our business, yes, transactions happen. Yes, products and services are moved, but this is about growth. This is about people becoming more. This is about people learning how to think differently and not being afraid, and taking some chances and getting rejection. I mean, there's nothing better in this life than network marketing. And
Yeah.
it's so misunderstood.
Yeah. I have to say, I remember when I first joined, I had a lot of the fears that probably many of the people listening today have, which is, I had a Nordstrom executive background, right? I was a manager and blah, blah, blah. But when I got into network marketing, I remember thinking, what are they going to think of me? Like, couldn't I get a real job? I remember the gal coming to my mom's, the door, the Avon lady bringing little lipsticks. And I remember thinking, like, them having a pot of coffee, like that was what I was going to turn into. But there was still something within me that kept saying, this is the potential vehicle that could change your life. And just with that hope, you mentioned it earlier, just with that hope, it empowered me or inspired me enough to put one foot in front of the other and make those small goals. And I remember getting so caught up in my head about all those fears, all those things. And
Oh no, Joan is okay. Hopefully Joan's going to come right back. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now. But I think I just should talk so you're not sitting there for a minute, and she'll be back in a second, or I'll get kicked off, or something's going to happen. This has been the week of technical challenges for me. So while she is coming back on, let's see, what do I want to talk about? Let's see. So, you know what? I think what I'll do is go into just a little bit more of, there she is. Oh, good. Oh, good.
keep going. You were doing a little bit more of what, and then I'll tell you what happened. Thank God you're all here still.
I'm like, okay, I think she's gone. So just in it, for one more thing, and again, it's a decision. It's that moment. We all know when something is just something we've got to try.
Yeah.
And and it's not all perfect, but I remember in my first company when all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I can see myself sharing this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. And I in Rob's event, I talked about this, that one thing that bugs me right now is everybody's saying that you don't need to talk to your friends and family.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my thing is, I get it. I get that there have been enough people that have brought in an energy that isn't conducive to, and I know sometimes we're not the experts with our friends and family, and we're afraid of their rejection. But I want to say the very first people, if you're doing something that has value, why would you want a stranger to have value before your friends and family? And I think if there's one thing that we need to change, one message that I want to put out in the world, it's if you aren't proud enough to talk to your friends and family, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, because the money from strangers will never, ever give you the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you represent something of value, knowing that your friends and family may not be ready for that value.
Sure. Well, and to your point, first off, by the way, I don't know what happened. I had hot pink come across my computer. I thought I had some power surge, but anyway, luckily I didn't know. I thought, did I get water on my computer? Never had that. So we often can have technical difficulties and we just come back. Here we are. Anyway, to your point, I hear, I think what it is, Sue, is we come from a history of what I would call, or people call this old school sales. But what I think it is, it's not old school, it's called timeless
Yep.
sales. Relationships, gang, are never going to go out of style. Okay. Millions of years back, people still needed people, just so we know. Here's what I do think today. I think that it's not enough to just build an online business. I think it's not enough to just build an in-person business. I think you got to find your own way of flowing a little bit of both. Take advantage of online, take advantage of you showing up and being part of your community, your families, just life, right? Sometimes, like, because I'll just give you my own example. Sometimes, I don't want to talk to people when I go maybe to Nordstrom, let's pretend, because maybe I've been talking to people all day. That's okay. I give myself the permission. I'm checking out of my own world of work. I'm not going to connect, or I'm going to smile at people, but I'm on a mission to find a skirt or something. That's fine. But there are times where I go to something with the intention of making new friends, making new connections, not making a sale, not recruiting someone. It's first, I just want to know people. And you have to be excited to meet people and learn more about people, I believe, to be a success when it comes to any sales. Because if I'm not more interested in the person I'm talking to, and I'm more interested in my agenda, then I've got it completely backwards.
Yep.
And I think that's a big struggle. So let's talk a little bit about really unlocking the heart, because I train a lot about, in fact, I even wrote about it in my book. Chapter 5 is like, have a heart. I think have a heart for people and the sale will follow. It's all about focusing and serving and being interested in people and knowing the sale will come, maybe from some of those people and maybe from others that I come in contact with. But just having the heart for people is where it starts, because it never feels spammy. It doesn't feel like I can't, like I'm just cold approaching somebody about a transactional situation. That's when it feels kind of gross. But when I take the time to get to know people, and I'm not talking about hours, also not talking about months, I'm talking about just starting with a sentence that gets someone talking about them, right?
Yes.
So you talked, Sue, and you did an amazing training at Rob's event. I took massive notes about really kind of unlocking unlocking your heart and getting out of the head. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you are training your own team to do that.
Well, and again, I mean, 30 years ago, I was doing a version of what I still train today. And like you said, timeless principles and how to be human beings and how to navigate life are never going to go away. The stuff and look, I'm 67 years old. It's like I was not born for TikTok. I was not born for social media, and I've built my businesses not on social media. I love social media. I love the connectability of social media, but I think it's also one of those things that has made people less connected.
Yeah,
They're
it can be.
it's like, so everything. So I came up with this acronym called CPR 123. And CPR starts with the C, which is connect and have conversations. And too many times people go straight for the invite. They go straight for the let me fix you. They go straight for the thing that somebody's not prepared for. And like you said, you can't be best friends before you do the invite, not
Right.
with a stranger, right?
Right.
It's all about, you can make a connection in 2 minutes or 2 years. It doesn't matter. But when you're connected to someone, when you're connected because of a conversation, because of something that you have to give to the world. I have a limited amount of hours in the day, just like everybody else. In fact, we all have the same amount of hours. So our time is actually more valuable than our money. Our money can grow and it can duplicate, but our time doesn't. And we want to be able to protect the time for ourselves, for our own development, for our own human needs, for our families. And in between that, we've got a limited amount of time that we get to use and invest in the world. And so being able to just ask questions. I have found that if you are good at asking questions, that leads to great conversations, which leads to great connections. And, and if I'm meeting somebody in an elevator, I can ask them a question in 2 minutes and then have something available to hand them. So that if there is, I can make a connection that quick. I can hand them a QR code and we're going to have a conversation if they're interested in what I have. But for the most part, it's asking somebody, like, what's missing in your life? If you could change something right now, I love a thing I call the looking zone. Just to ask somebody, what are you looking for that would make your life better? Now,
that's a good one. What are you looking for that would make your life better?
Yeah, because they already know what they're looking for. Their head already knows what they're looking for. But asking that question brings you to the heart level. It brings you to the I care about you level, not just I have something to sell you level. Because if I'm asking them a question and I'm truly connected with them, what they say, I may have a solution to and I may not. But I may know somebody who is a solution for them.
Sure.
So the big thing is I don't want people to feel like they're my target. I want people to know that I have information that they might not be aware of, and you can't make a decision about something you don't know about yet.
Yeah. And I want to say a couple things. So first off, guys listening out there, if you have ever felt that like Pamela feeling, or that you aren't sure what to say, that you're not sure what to say, on how to make a connection, put a heart in the comments, because you're not alone. And if you've ever felt like this, I want all of you to see that if everyone here listening in and watching on the replay is being honest, we've all felt that way, because we all know that in the back of our mind, we do have a transaction. Now, watch the way I'm going to say this, that potentially could take place as a result of the person's needs or wants. When you know that, people let it get a little bit, in their head around, feeling like they're going to think I'm trying to sell them something. Well, here's the deal. You're going to probably end up, no matter who you are, no matter what company you're with, you want to sell people things, but you want to know what's right for the person. You then have the opportunity to offer the solution. And I love what you said, Sue. She said, it may or may not be right for them. You just don't know. But there's a couple things here that are so critical. If you don't make connections and feel confident enough to have a connection, or, to make a connection with, people that you meet, if you don't have that skill, it's not just about the fact that your sales aren't going to follow. If you don't have the skill, it's going to be a pretty lonely freaking life out there. It's going to be lonely. It's going to be like where you're feeling isolated and like you don't know people. But really, you have to be interested enough to get to know them. And I hope that, I'm not trying to sound condescending, but you have to be the initiator of goodness. I mean, that's really what it is. I had a acquaintance one time say to me, "Why do you talk to everyone in the elevator?" And I thought, what do you mean, why do I talk to everybody? Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you guys why. And I probably don't talk to everybody. I don't like that word, everybody, but I do talk to most people in the elevator. And I make a game of it. And I'll tell you what I mean by this game is I think I want to make that person's day better having run into me than not. I do it in the elevator at my building. I do it at Safeway when I'm moving up and down aisles 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm always thinking about, I want to make that person's day better. I just said always, but I love to do it because I like to see how I can put a smile on somebody's face. That's kind of the start of nonverbal and the start of making a connection. If someone smiles back at me a little bit, then it's natural to be like, oh, cute shoes, or, oh, that's a cute little dog you have in the car, whatever. Where'd you get those artichoke hearts? I need some, You can find ways. I've made it a game and I think it's pretty cool. Okay, I'm getting off on my own deal here. Sue, let's get back to you. So we've got the C is connect and have conversations.
Yep.
Which I think is the most important part, because now we're going to go to P. Explain P, because you can't do P without C.
That's right. Because P is provide value and present information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can present information in a number of ways. I love teaching people how to use tools so that that information is consistent and they're not wasting time trying to be the tool. But that's what it is. See, we're providing value, and it's like we get to run around knowing that we are benefiting from a secret the world doesn't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Most of the products in network marketing are not sitting on a store shelf.
Right.
Right. There's breakthroughs, there's information. I remember, the very first company that I did over 30 years ago, it was progesterone. It was like, are you kidding me? How, but the mainstream, you didn't see a progesterone cream sitting in a health food store for probably another 10, 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And still the world doesn't wake up going, hey, I got to go find some progesterone cream today, even though it's been over 30 years since this has been available. So it goes back to that old thing about communities and learning. It's like, I get to know something, and then do I want to carry that secret around and not share that? See, if I truly believe that it's good, that's how we walk into a store and we're like walking on air, because I know secrets these people don't know. I know about residual income. I know about leveraged income. They only know about linear income and going to jobs because nobody's ever had that conversation with them. Mm-hmm. They don't know about this particular health product or that particular health product or this particular service that's available. We should wake up every day and go, okay, what do I get to learn today? See, that makes it so that people can have stronger connections. They're not afraid to learn. What has ruined everything, and I think if you go back to the 70s and you think about the Tom Hopkins kind of sales presentations, see, sales training and commercials for that matter are to get you to do something, not give you an option. Mm-hmm. And that is the difference. If we could just change those words, I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to give you more choices and options.
Give you some options. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to say this because this is one thing that really helped me overcome some of those really strong closing suggestions, Yeah. I'll tell everybody here, I wasn't real comfortable with these kind of canned things that are if you could get your first paycheck today, what, do you want to get started then? I mean, I just don't like it. But I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think if you did it enough to enough people, it works, but it's not me.
Yeah.
But what does work for me is what you're sharing, Sue, interestingly enough, which I will say it like this. Hey, when I am wanting to share something with somebody and I realize that they could benefit, okay? And this is, again, guys, this is after I've made a connection, because I don't cold market this kind of what I'm about to say. It isn't the first thing I talk about. But I might say something like, who knows? And this could go for a product or your business. I might say something like, Sue, who knows? This may or may not work for you, but I'd love an opportunity to show you, based on kind of like what we were talking about, what it may be, how this possibly could help you. Do you have a few minutes today at 2? No, but what I'm trying to say is it's possibility conversation, right?
Yep.
I do a lot of that. Or I say something like, I want you to know, you can tell me no. We're still going to be friends. I give people an out. That has worked for me. And I've been doing it a long time. I also know I could go read a sales book where somebody, some amazing sales trainer will tell you what I just shared for you. No, don't do that. Don't give people an out. You know what? I'm of the belief that the right people are going to align with what I have to offer and what I have to give to them.
Yep.
If they choose it, great. If they don't, there's others. There's a lot of people in the world that need what Sue has, that need what, Dana, Christy, all the people, I'm looking at some of the names, what you have. There's more than enough. There's an abundance of people that need what you have. All right. When we provide value, it is after we make the connection.
Yeah.
And after we've had a conversation, so we don't feel awkward. Now, Sue, go into R, CPR.
So R automatically goes into maintaining the relationship. And that means that, yes, people are going to make decisions. They're going to make decisions on whether to try your product, whether to join you, whether to just remain your friend. But if we have in our hearts that our job is not to offend people, not to over promote to people, because that drives the wedge, how do we maintain relationships? We remain approachable. We keep in our heart our true intent, which is providing value to the world and finding our tribe, finding those people. And so once you get to the decision process, that becomes the 1, 2, 3. And the 1, 2, 3 looks like this. People are going to join you as either a consumer, as a connector, or as a business builder. And those 3 people need to know that they're supported where they want to live. They can move at any time, but they need to know, here's your options. Here's your options on how to be part of my journey and my mission to better people's lives. And even if they're not going to join me, I hope that I've provided enough information that they know they've got to find a way to engage in doing something similar. I use in my providing value piece, I talk a lot about the tax benefits of having a home-based business. I want people to be able to know that there is a way to keep some of the money that they're currently sending. The only way, this is the best part, because what's the hardest part? People want what you have. They don't think they can afford it. So I actually help them understand, look, you're currently sending additional money to the government in the form of taxes because you don't know the rules about having a business. If you have a business, you can actually keep that money invested in your health, invested into your family, invested into your future, and have a no risk I mean, truly, what we have is no risk, but people over talk about the money and the investment and all the stuff instead of saying, no, this is simple. It's simple to share information, provide value, and start right out the gate with the government funding your business.
Well, and Sue, sometime we'll have to maybe even do a later training all around just that, because I know you really have a passion around that. I've heard you share about it in past events and even one-on-one. And I think there's so many things that people don't know. Like you said, the industry at times, has maybe had a few bad raps, but it's really funny. I don't hear much of that stuff anymore because number one, I don't believe it. And number two, I don't know. I don't really align with people that I guess, talk about like, oh, it's a pyramid. I never hear that really anymore. That's just me.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to say is this, the last part you hit on maintaining. Now, I want everybody to write this down because I'm going to recap this. But maintaining relationships. I'm going to tell you what, now, this day and age, and I know Sue agrees with me on this, we are going through a tougher time. That's the way most people would perceive the world outside of them. Things are a little whatever. Okay, you can call it what you want, but here's what I want you to know. Tough times are going on since the age of time. And I'm not trying to minimize what you're going through. So don't send me an email, and I don't want you to write, we don't agree, or I don't care if you do that. But what I'm trying to say is that the tough times and challenges in life, they're going to be there. And it is the way you perceive it. But maintaining relationships, I said it earlier, relationships, it's not old school to have a conversation with people, just so all of you hear me on this, okay? It's not old school. It's called the way that life works if you want to make connections. Yeah. We're here to learn lessons, build relationships, and be the best possible you that you can be. That's what I believe. And maintaining relationships when somebody tells you no is an avenue that 99% of everyone here listening will not do. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. They don't keep maintaining any sort of relationship. In fact, someone tells you no, and many people don't even write a response, which kind of shows your character. It reveals more of who you are.
Yep.
And my feeling is, am I perfect? Do I do this every single time? I cannot say that. But I have learned to maintain relationships. You never know who's going to have an open door a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And I feel like I learned this from my mom. My mom always said, don't ever begrudge somebody for wanting something different. You have somebody that's leaving your team, wish them well. Yep. That's what they believe is best for them at this moment. They may come back. I've had team members do that. Be the person that is showing your team how to do CPR, meaning you're making the connections, you're having the conversations, you're providing value, and you're educating your people on whatever it is, your product, your services. You're giving information. And lastly, maintaining relationships. Sue, I know you have built multiple 7 figures over the years. And what I would love to do is I want to have you wrap up with your story about how you found your house, if you can do it in just a couple minutes, because I love this story. And I love also that you said you don't always know how, but when you put something out there, you pray about it, whatever it is for you. But Sue, I want her to share this. But before we do, guys, I'm going to drop the link for the Ultimate Recruiting Conversation, because much of what Sue shared today in her CPR, and Sue, if you want to also share the link with me, if you like to share the CPR, I'll put it into the group as well.
Sure.
But I want to say this. In the ultimate recruiting conversation, in the beginning, it's all about connection. That's what box number 1 is. And there's specific questions that I'll give you that will help you get these conversations going. And in box number 4, in guiding your prospect to a decision, whatever that decision is, there's ways and questions and different things in there that I believe you're going to feel very comfortable with, that aren't going to feel like you're just wanting to recruit somebody. You're literally wanting to provide somebody with an opportunity to maybe make more money, to be part of something bigger than themselves, to be involved in an incredible community. Who knows? There's all kinds of reasons why people do this. Heck, I've had people do it just to go on the company trips. Great. You don't know, though, until you connect. Sue, let's wrap up by you telling the story, because I absolutely love this. And I will drop the link to the recruiting conversation in the chat. Go ahead.
Okay, so this was super fun, and it tells a couple of things. One, I knew in my soul that we needed to move. We had been in our house for 27 years. We had raised our children. They all went to the same school. But there was this yearning. And so it starts with that. When all of a sudden you have that feeling that there's something, you don't know what it is. So we made the decision, okay, we're going to put our house on the market. We're going to find a new house. And we were remodeling. And I don't know how many of you have voices or inspirations, but sometimes my voices get very specific. And I heard this message to go rent. And I went, why would I go rent? I own my house.
Right.
And then it was like, because your energy is stuck here. And I'm like, yeah, I've been here for 27 years. I don't know what new houses look like, what that new horizon looks like. So I found a house, we rented, and it came almost to the end of our lease, and I still hadn't found a house to move to. Mm-hmm. And my husband's like, honey, we're not staying here. We got to go somewhere.
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay, let's just plan on 6 more months. We'll get serious about this, blah, blah, blah. And when I came home, I had gone to LA for a couple of days. When I came home, there was this brochure with all this gorgeous home that was like not even something I would have ever considered looking at. And I'm like, is he looking at this? Like, and it wasn't that I couldn't afford it, but number one, it wasn't comfortable for me to look at that house. Mm-hmm. And so the next day he's like, so did you see that house I found? And I said, are you serious about looking at that? And he says, yeah, I've already been through it. The guy's cell phone's on there. He's just waiting for you to make an appointment. And I thought in that moment, okay, I'm either going to have a fight or a date right now. Right. if I tell my husband he's crazy, it's going to be a fight. If I go look at this cool house, we'll have a nice date, and then I'll say no.
Yeah.
I mean, so
there you go. You know your husband, right?
I know, right? And maintain that relationship. So we go up and we look at this house and we come in, and it's beyond. I mean, I had made a list of things that I wanted. I wanted storage. I wanted community space. I wanted business space. I wanted family space. And this house was like, it was built for my list. Mm-hmm. Only way beyond what I could have dreamed. So I started with my dream, and then God just made it bigger. And at the end, I'm like, oh no, now what do I do? So I asked him why he was selling the house, because it was new, hadn't been lived in very long. And it was a sad story about why he was selling. And I thought, okay, this was right after the crash of 2008. It was at the point where you knew you were going to get a deal on any house because the market had dropped so far. And I said, okay, so are you negotiable on price? Could you carry the contract for 6 months? And he said, I'm open to that. Now he hands me the appraisal of the house, and the house was $2.8 million.
In 2008, guys.
and it was like, it was like and very much worth it. I mean, the house is 11,500 square feet, not anything, like I wasn't even thinking this. And then I thought, okay, Sue, start thinking about this differently. Think about this as, what if you look at it as an investment where you're going into you're going into an equity position where as the market recovers, it's going to add value. So stop looking at it as a purchase and start looking at it as an investment. And so on the way home, I thought, okay, our budget that we had decided on was going to be about $1 million. And, with all the overages, that would probably get us to 1.3. So where is the number between 1.3 and 2.8 that would be stupid?
Wait, I got to say one thing. 1.3 to 2.8. Most people would go, you know what? This was just a date, right?
Yeah.
They would just say, forget it, but not Sue. Keep going.
So I'm looking at it going, what's the number that would be stupid to walk away from? Is it 2? Is it, where is that place where it's like, I do have the money. I can do this. I can make this choice. And so he calls me the next morning at 9 a.m. and he says, Sue, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to sell you this house. Give me 2 hours and I'm going to call you back with the lowest price I can go. Like, when does that ever happen in the world, right?
Right.
So I'm over here figuring out my brain stuff, and he's been spending the night figuring out his brain stuff. And he called me back exactly 2 hours later and said 1.3.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Every time I've heard this story, this is probably the third time, I get chills. I mean, I'm sorry, but this story is so good. So what did you guys do? Were you just like,
I just said I need to call my lawyer, and we got the paperwork done, and 2 weeks to the day later we moved in.
I know, I cannot even believe that.
Yeah.
And well, I was almost going to say, what's it worth now?
Well, so we just had the top of the market, right? Like last year. And I actually had somebody come and tell me that my house at the top of the market has probably gone down just a little bit now.
Sure.
But I could have sold it between 5 and 6.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
And again, it's like, the next day I actually drove back up here and said, okay, Sue, can you move into this house and not get attached to it? Can you just, because I don't believe that possessions should control what we do. Possessions, money is a tool. It's not something, and that's what keeps my heart soft. That's what I know, that I could walk away from an opportunity, from like, no matter what, my values, my belief in people, my faith is so much stronger than any transaction that we have on the planet. But what it does do, I can't tell you the amount. I mean, we had a mastermind here with Rob.
Yeah.
We had, the opportunities that this house has provided, the peace that this provides, the ability to bring my leaders, to have teams come and actually dream and hear that story. I mean, it's not that I deserve it any more than someone else, but I made choices along the path that prepared me for that moment to be able to have that opportunity. And we need to help people understand that there's so much more for everybody.
Yeah.
And, and it just comes back to, who did I mentor with? How many times did I listen to Tony Robbins or do different things? I remember when my son came home one day and told me that I'd ruined him because he didn't think like his friends, because we invested our time differently. And, he was either learning something or he was skiing, and his friends were hanging out at the mall getting in trouble. Life provides choices, and we don't have to suffer. And there are solutions, and it's all you've got to do is wake up every day and say, what do I get to learn today?
I love that.
Oh, serve today.
I just so love that. I love that. All right. any last words you have for the listeners when it comes to, CPR and just being consistent? Any last words?
So the CPR system is built around taking actions. You've got to have conversations daily. You've got to do follow-ups daily, and it's all on one sheet. I'll get it to you. It's all on one sheet. So it's all about being able to make a check mark that you took an action and planted a seed. Now, it's not about the results. It's about the planting. So at the end of the week, if you've done nothing to plant for your business, you can't have a harvest. You can't, you're not going to grow a team if those seeds aren't planted, if those conversations don't take place, if those secrets aren't shared, if that passion isn't driving you every day to at least make sure that you've been a blessing in someone's life. And you've been brave. Maybe it's bravery that, it's like, be brave enough to honor what you've been given, to share it with other people so that they can then decide, and don't get caught up in whether it's their time, in whether they're going to accept it, in whether they're going, because that's where the ickiness is. That's where the cells is. One final really big thing. In my very first company, I met someone, and we both went into different companies after that company decided not to be a network marketing company anymore. And it was amazing that we kept our relationship for 12 years. I was his cheerleader, hoping he was going to win in life. He was my cheerleader, hoping I was going to win in life. We would have conversations about our kids and what was going on in our lives. And 12 years later, I gave him a call and I said, I think I found something that you're going to be interested in. Because truly, I knew him.
Yeah.
And he knew I cared about him, and sent him a video. He called me back. Here's my credit card. Sign me up. And that led me to someone who led me to someone who led me to someone to where I am today. Yeah. So if I looked at, look, he's not making me money. He's not part of my organization.
Oh, right.
It's like you have to figure out, you can't be friends with everybody. So really get in tune with who you're going to attract, and then get uncomfortable, get into new rooms. I remember one of my mentors, it was like, tell me your story. Then it was like, teach me how to think the way you think. And that changed everything, because you're on a path. And are you growing or are you shrinking? Because you can't stand still in life.
No, I agree. I love that. Well, gosh, guys, so many great nuggets from Sue. And Sue, I want to again thank you for taking your time. I know you just got off an amazing trip with your family in Mexico, and even coming through a little sickness with the old Mexico stuff. I know how that goes. But I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your wisdom and, all of the gifts really combined really in today's training. I mean, there's so many things that we can take from this. So thank you so much. I want to tell everybody out there, next week, we've got a guest that many of you will know. We have the Rob Sperry. Sue and I absolutely adore Rob. So he's going to be here next week with us on the Leader Lowdown. And again, Sue, thank you so much. Have a fabulous day out there, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Joan.
Uh-huh.